We live.
That feels good to hear that again. It's been a while, so
It's weird to say. I'm not even gonna lie.
But yes, welcome back everybody to Perspective. I know it's been a very long time. It's been like a month and a half now. It's been like
we recorded our episode back in like July because that's when I left for my camps. Remember?
Has it been that long? It's been a really long time.
Because like we released our trailer. Let me check.
Well, he's checking that. I just want to say I've actually received, I don't know if you have, a couple people have been talking to me more about the podcast, including some family members asking when it was going to come back. And here we are. So I'm not going to promise that we're going to be as consistent about it again, just because obviously unexpected things happen all the time, and I don't want to set some expectation and not meet it.
Mm-hmm.
But we are here now, and we're doing our best.
July 12th was the last.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Because that was when you did one with Allie. We did one with Kayla first, right? After we released our trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I left for my camps. You were like, all right, part 2 with Allie. So you recorded one with Allie. Remember I called you guys?
Yeah.
And then, we haven't done one since then.
Damn. So wait, July.
July 12th.
So it's been 2 months now, or over 2 months.
It's almost October. You know that, right?
Yeah.
It's almost
that's what I'm
like,
saying.
yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway, before we officially like start this episode, if you guys haven't watched the video on our official Perspective Instagram account, I definitely encourage you to do that. I was gonna say it took a lot of effort. I was thinking about this at work today. Like, it did take a lot of effort, and like we had to kind of allot the time to do it, but it was really meaningful to us. So you guys should definitely go watch that, and it'll maybe contextualize.
I think our first trailer was a lot like more time consuming because it was just the two of us versus like
the thumbnail.
That
thing.
one was a lot longer, but versus like the second one is we had 4 people helping us. Well,
Yeah.
4 people in total doing it.
You reminded me subconsciously. Thank you again I put it on the post, but thank you again to Allie, and especially her roommate and best friend, Morgan. Morgan was a champion. She helped with the filming and the cinematography, so shout out Morgan on that one. But definitely go watch that. Pause this, go watch that, and then come back and watch this. Please.
Isn't it like what, like a minute and a half long or something?
It's like 4 minutes.
Oh damn!
Did you watch it?
I did, but I didn't realize it was 4 minutes.
Because I changed like some of the music and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
I heard. Because when I watched, because you posted it this morning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I woke up and I saw it and I listened to it and I was like, "This isn't Tangerine." I know you originally had Tangerine on.
Yeah, I feel like because I like pre-tested, I guess, the video to you, and Thomas said that song was an interesting decision. Not like you were saying that was stupid.
I just didn't know what song you were choosing. I like the song you chose though for the final video.
But yeah, I did Hypnotized by the Notorious B.I.G. I changed it because I feel like that fit a lot better with the video. But yeah, go watch that, come back to this, and now we can get into it. So the episode, or the topic rather, for today is going to be fear, and Thomas has set up his little protein shake.
I actually just drank it.
A little nod to the video again, so go watch that. I've said that like 6 times now.
Yeah,
but,
I know. Advertising at its finest.
Shameless plug. But yes, today's topic is going to be fear, and I've been looking forward to this one for a while because we've kind of flirted with this topic a lot. Have you not heard that expression?
I've never heard flirted in that sense.
It's kind of like the walking on eggshells
hey,
thing.
How you do?
I'm trying to be serious here, okay? Because this is actually going to be really sweet. Because a lot of the episodes that we've had in the past, especially with the guests, I think have kind of dealt with the idea of fear. We just have never. I held back on doing fear for a long time, not because we couldn't find like the perfect person to do it, but that it's just such a big like topic that I'd feel like we'd have to spend a lot more time thinking of. I have my notes here, and there's just it's just such a broad subject. I didn't think we could, by how quick we were pumping out the episodes and everything, I didn't think we could devote enough like thought and time into that. But now I think we're in a good place. I got a couple discussion points here that I think
That's
are
good
going to be
because I
pretty
don't.
nice.
So.
Yeah,
I thought
we're going back to the original. Thomas doesn't know like anything about what I
Oh
have
yeah, I
prepared.
thought the topic was protein. So.
But fear in specific, I think, is really important for the both of us now, and I think it'll mean a lot more, especially as time goes on, because
Yeah,
some
for
of the
sure.
stuff that I think we're going to talk about here, I think can be applicable kind of
Yeah.
going down the road. And it's another one of those episodes where it's just kind of maybe we act like we know what we're talking about, and we really don't, but we're just kind of giving our on what's happening.
That was corny as hell.
I didn't say it, so it didn't
Yeah,
count.
but everyone on YouTube, if y'all watch it, y'all gonna be like,
And whoever's on Spotify is really confused why
Yeah.
there's a. But anyway, so I'm going to start it off with a story. You know this story. I'm just going to share it with
I
everybody.
do.
Huh?
I do.
Yes. Well, you should. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see how good my memory is.
End of July. Today is September 25th. End of July, I took a trip to Tennessee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm not going to air out everything because that's.
I was about to say,
That's
I was
maybe a
like,
little
yeah.
TMI. Not TMI. That sounded weird.
Just-
There's some private
Yeah, it's
information.
just something that should be in disclosure.
Yeah.
So.
So I took a trip to Nashville to see the band on my shirt, and one that I've mentioned several times
It says 21
throughout
Pilots.
this show.
No, I'm just joking.
It does actually. He has dyslexia. Greta Van Fleet. I've talked about them several times, and I went to go see them with a couple work friends of mine and a girl that we used to work with. And the reason I tell this story and why I think it lines up with fear a lot is the trip for me. What's the right word I'm looking for? The trip did not go the way that I had anticipated it to go. And
Mhm.
who I tell this story to, you, Allie, other people, I might use a little bit different verbiage, but
Mhm.
it did not go how I anticipated, and that was greatly in part due to the fact that I was trying to impress somebody, somebody that I was very fond of at the time, and now the trip kind of told me a lot about the situation, and now that is no more. But I think through kind of that whole ordeal of trying to impress somebody, I tried to be somebody I wasn't, and I lost a lot of kind of what makes me me and
Mhm.
the podcaster that I am.
Mhm.
But the fear aspect that was a part of the story, this I don't know if I told you about. I've told other people about it. I don't know if I've told you about this.
We'll see.
But so we had a whole mix-up. We had an Airbnb up in Nashville. We had a whole mix-up because we took a car. We rented a car to take up there.
Mhm.
And instead of getting an SUV that we were supposed to, we ended up getting like this big Nissan Titan as a truck. And this thing was massive. It was like a 2015 or something. That thing, look it up. That thing is huge. And I've driven a truck before, but I don't know. Have you driven a truck before?
I've driven a okay size truck. It's not like a huge one. I think the biggest one I've closely tried to drive was Ford F-150.
Yeah.
Those are huge. I didn't want to try to record one. So
Trucks,
yeah. that's
Yeah.
where we
Anyway,
left off.
so on this trip, we drove this massive truck up there. One of my buddies that I work with still, he drove it the entire trip. And there was a point where I felt bad because he was driving so much, and all of us could drive that went on the trip. So I was like, hey, if you ever need me to drive or go somewhere, I'll do it. The problem for me was I've driven a truck before, but not one that was that big.
That size, yeah.
And trucks are very different, at least from that experience that I had, that the turn radius is all whack and
Mhm.
just you don't know what kind of clearance you have and everything.
Mhm.
There was, I don't want to say a lot of anxiety about driving it if I was going to drive it, but there was just a lot of uncertainty.
You still had you still had
surrounding
an
it.
anxious feeling about driving.
Yeah,
it, though.
because I've never done something like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
before, and it made me uncomfortable.
yeah,
Um,
the unknown is what makes us fear.
and oh, put on a t-shirt. But I ended up driving once on the trip,
Mhm.
and I think also just the day that we were having kind of put me in a sour mood with, again, all of what I've already previously mentioned. But we had one day I drove to the city, but I didn't drive back. My friend, he drove back. but I looked at it a lot, and I remember telling myself, and not for the sake of the episode, but actually like what I was thinking when it was happening was, I'm going to drive this truck at least once because I don't want to. And
That's
it
a
was
good
because
perspective.
it was like, it was something that I was uncomfortable doing. And that's a
Mhm.
lot of, I think, where people can overcome their fears is putting yourself in a lot of like uncomfortable situations
Mhm.
on purpose to
Mhm.
not be afraid of it anymore.
Mhm.
And there's a very fine line between like doing something that you're afraid of and like rationality. I'm not saying like do something that can get you hurt or something like that. Like
Mhm.
if you're like, hey, I should,
Bench 200 pounds if you never benched like 10 pounds.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, I'm just afraid of it. No, you can't do that.
Mm.
So you're probably going to snap in half if you try and do that.
Snap City, bro. Snap City.
But yeah, so, but yeah, so that was kind of my little introduction to the fear topic a little bit. We can kind of maybe touch on that. I mean, that was a point that I had on here. Just
No,
saying.
yeah, I can understand that because fear takes, it plays a role in everyone's life, and it doesn't really, it comes in different forms. Like, for example, my fear that I've been going through was starting the school semester. Not because of like classes or anything. Like, my classes is fine. The thing that was scaring me is not having that structure of like my classes and everything, because this is my first year not cheering within like, I don't know, like 5 years, 4 years. And cheer is really what like gave me that structure of like, all right, guys, I have to wake up, maybe go to class, go to practice, eat.
The maybe go to class is crazy.
I mean, I'm being real, but like eat, go to practice, go to the gym. Like, that gave me my structure, and that gave me like, you know, something to look forward to, even if I'm like going through stuff, right? But now I don't really have that structure anymore because, you know, this year I decided not to do cheer, and that's like for many different reasons. But that fear of not doing cheer was one of the reasons why I wanted to do cheer again, but I didn't. I ultimately chose it because I wanted, the same way as you were talking about, to see how it felt for 1 year to not do cheer. Like, I've done it before, like before I never did cheer, but I haven't done it since like doing cheer, and I wanted to feel that, like, let's see how it goes. Like, maybe if I really do miss it, I can go back to it and see. But like right now, I'm holding off to see what other things that cheer prevented me from doing, so I can try those things. For example, like now I have like a couple jobs, right? Like, I coach at 2 schools. I do UCA still. I'm gonna start doing privates. I have more time for homework. I have more time to hang out with friends. I have more time, especially for the gym now. Like, I don't have to cram my hours from like 9 to 11 after practices. I can like finish at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, go home, like do homework, sleep. Like, I have like a good structured schedule now. And like, I was afraid that I wasn't going to have that when I stopped doing cheer, because like cheer really gave me something to look forward to. But now I can like wake up and like still look forward to other things. And that was like a scary portion of like my life, because you know, everyone has their thing that makes them give them that structure. And like, some people might not have that structure, some people don't, and some people do. And you know, another play is that like people use structure to make them feel like they know they can take control of their life. And whenever people don't have that feeling of like control in their life, they start fearing about the things that might happen. I definitely see that in you for sure. Sometimes when you don't have that structure, because like sometimes whenever I ask you like, hey, let's hang out, you're like, what do you want to do? And Cole's like, well, I'm not gonna hang out if we don't have like a plan to do something. And like, I get it, like, you know, if you don't have a plan, like, he's afraid to like hang out, because what if like we just ultimately just drive around and do nothing, right? In my opinion, like, this is different perspective. I'm sorry, p words, different p words. Like, I like doing that, just doing whatever and just going with the flow. But like, he needs like a set plan to do stuff, because he fears like, all right, I'm not gonna waste my time to not, like, I still can have fun, but like, he wants to know what we're doing before we go do something. And I get it, like, that's his fear. Like, I don't have that fear of doing something like that. So, and like, that's completely understandable. Everyone's just different in different ways. So.
Well, and you talking about that, you actually reminded me of something that I meant to mention, which was my latter half of work tonight. I'm exhausted, by the way. I don't know if you guys can tell, but like, I'm really tired. And honestly, when I got home, I was like, maybe we record it a different day again.
This is your idea,
I'm
homie.
tired.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm ordering pizza after this. So.
But we need to get this out, and I had a lot on my brain anyway, so I feel like this was a necessity. But I actually listened to Zeta's episode a little bit while I was doing
was her
some of my
topic
work.
again?
Openness.
Okay.
And hers, I didn't even know this. I just like went on. I was tired of listening to music, which is funny because I love music and listen.
No,
to music.
I couldn't understand that. Like whenever I drive, I like listen to podcasts a lot too. So I
Yeah,
understand
and
that.
I just honestly I needed something like new to listen to. It's just something that.
As if it's something we didn't make.
Well, I think I've mentioned this in the past. I don't really listen to a lot of our episodes. It's kind of like actors in movies. Like they
Yeah, I
don't
get
watch their
that.
film. They just let
Yeah.
other people enjoy it or
Yeah.
despise it. I don't know. But Zeta's was just like the first one that popped up that I clicked on. And you actually asked in her episode if she just like wasn't afraid of a lot of things due to her openness and just how like comfortable she is around a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me thinking a lot about Zeta's openness and just who she is as a person, how she's comfortable around a lot of people. Because I looked at it too as it's funny the dynamic that exists between the two of us, because there's somebody like me who has anxiety and overthinks like mess, and then there's somebody like you that can just go into like pretty much any situation and just wing it and be like, you know what, we'll just see what happens. And listening to Zeta talk again, it kind of like reminded me of that, of people that have a lot of fear and they're trying to combat it, and people that just borderline don't have fear at all. And it made me think a lot about like some of the past people that we've had on here, like Zeta and her openness reminds me a lot of you that just doesn't seem to be afraid of anything. Jade, who like blew her leg out completely and had to come back from that and is still cheering today. Cam, which you were kind of talking a little bit about that, the whole schedule. Like Cam, we talked about like her schedules have schedules. Like she's just always planning and wanting to know like what the next course of action is.
It's funny that you bring that up because like I saw her today at practice, and you know, I don't know if you guys know, but she originally like said goodbye to cheer because she said she was retiring, and
It's a funny story.
it's funny because like she said she was like ready to give it up and like, you know, spend some time structuring other things in life like that, but like she had the fear that I had, but the thing is like her fear beat her.
Did
Like,
she say this? Like she was afraid of?
no, she didn't say this, but I know deep down like it did beat her because like a lot of the times she was telling me is that like she felt like she didn't really have anything to do other than like go to the gym, go to school, do Celsius, because she's not in a sorority anymore either. So she literally does nothing really.
Did she leave? Oh, I
She
didn't
dropped
know.
her sorority, so she isn't in a sorority. She just does her Celsius job. She works and works out. So like she's like, all right, I don't have the structure that like cheer gives me, like a schedule. Like, all right, I have practice at this time, rather than like now she's like, oh, I guess I can go to the gym at 5 o'clock or
Yeah.
like 2 o'clock, and like she liked it, but she felt like she had too much freedom. Like, do you remember that summer, a couple years ago? But yeah, do you remember those like couple years ago when I was like going through that same thing over the summer where I tried to find a job and you were working at Dick's already, and I was like, dude, I feel like I have like no structure right now because like during the whole summer I was like applying to jobs like almost every day and like didn't hear back from anyone or got any like opportunity. So I was literally just like home, gym, home, gym, home, gym. Like that's literally all I did during the whole summer. And eventually like probably like a quarter way through the summer that I was offered a job, then I started having that structure of like the job. And that was the same year that I started doing cheer. And I was like, yo, I'm just so like, I feel locked in my room because I'm like, dude, I'm trying to. Yeah, I just feel like locked in my room because I'm like trying to do stuff in my life and feel like I'm not trying to be locked in a box. Like I feel like I'm just confined because I have like nothing to do. But then when you told me, Lily, you were like, yeah, Bo, but you have a lot of things lined up. Like you have things lined up that's gonna
I do remember
start
saying.
making new things. You're like, all right, even though you haven't found a job yet, you're gonna find a job eventually. Cheers starting up for you, so you have a whole opportunity to meet new people, and you're like. Yeah, and on top of that, like, maybe if you do start working at Dick's, you have a whole new opportunity of new people to work at, like, get to know there as well. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I just gotta trust the process. So, some people like that fear of like not like the honestly, like I said earlier, like the unknown is what makes us fear a lot. Like not knowing a lot of things, like especially the future. Like everyone's scared of the future because we don't know what's going on, right? And the people that don't fear the future because is people that have a set future. Like they know what they're doing and they're working towards that, right? And it's crazy because like we always live in that like fight or flight mentality, especially when it comes to the unknown. And whenever we go into those situations, we can either stay and fight, quote unquote fight, or leave. And I'm always the person to just like, quote unquote, fight it and see how things go versus like some people are just like, I'm not comfortable in this situation. Let's just leave. So
Yeah.
it's very hard and it's very understanding about like why people like work one way or another. But I don't know. It's just like, it's interesting because I do like this topic of fear. And I guess we've never really like talked about it this deep before. So,
Well, also another person I meant to mention, I think Gracie's was probably like the closest we've gotten to it because hers talked about
hers was doubt right?
a lot.
Yeah.
And I think in that she talked a lot about her fears when it came to, like you said, the unknown and not really knowing what's going to happen next. And that kind of leads me into because I got to start getting through these points on here. Because I thought about this actually when I thought about this topic, and then I wanted this episode to be this topic was. Of the three, I feel like primary emotions, which are anger, sadness, and joy. I feel like fear, because fear is kind of like a subcategory of that. And it got me thinking a little bit because fear is unlike some of the other emotions in that it limits you from doing something as opposed to like motivating you to do something. Because you hear a lot of times people will act out of anger. Like if you're just a really angry person, you could like punch a wall or something, or you can yell at somebody, or you can do something that you're going to regret later. If you're really happy, obviously you might be more like philanthropic, or you might just help out a bunch of people, or just tell jokes, go out places, be social. Sadness and fear, I think, are pretty closely related because when you're afraid of something, it holds you back a lot, and it forces you to not really be yourself as much and just kind of like sit back and observe from a distance. And I feel like sadness is a lot like that because when you're sad, you're unmotivated. You don't really feel like doing anything. Yeah. You just want to like go in your room and like lay down or something. So I feel like in kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Just being the opposite kind of anger and happiness. It's just one of those things that instead of experiencing that emotion that causes you to do something, it causes you to do nothing, which I thought was kind of interesting to like think about.
Well, you also know like fear is one of like the emotions, right? Especially in acting, it's like you said, joy, sadness, anger, it's fear. One of them is one of them.
Well, there's like I Googled it too before we started the episode. The basic ones were happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise.
Those are like the basic ones.
I just cherry picked to make my point, so I appreciate you for bringing that up.
My bad.
Just took it down real quick.
Well, I was just saying that because you're like, it's a subcategory. I'm like, well, it's actually just one of the main categories. But like, yeah. Well,
but like, even if you look at it too, like if you're like disgusted by something, that's still too kind of it'll keep you from doing things. But if you're disgusted, you might do something because you're disgusted.
I feel like fear is like similar to that, but I don't think fear will hold you back, depending on like what kind of fear it is. Because like sadness is like, yes, like you're gonna be sad, and sometimes you can either bear through it or like sometimes you just don't want to do anything. But fear is usually the idea of like you don't want to do something because you're scared of it. Yeah. So like it does hold you back in some cases, but like sometimes it doesn't. Like let's say a good example, right? I'm afraid of spiders. You know this, right? That doesn't mean I won't kill a spider. It'll be I don't want to. It's gonna be difficult for me to kill a spider, but I will do it if it's in my room, especially, right? I just need some moral support, okay? But like I will do it if I have to, okay? Versus like fear with, I don't know, like cliff jumping, right? We're gonna be hesitant about doing it. Sometimes we might not even do it. Like I don't think personally I would go cliff jumping. Yeah. Because like that's something that I would actually like lose my shit.
Well, okay, so I think that cliff jumping kind of goes in what I was talking about earlier, which was that's something that, God forbid, you could like die doing if something were to go wrong. I'm talking more like base level stuff, like okay, killing a spider. Unless you're like gonna dap up a black widow, you're probably not gonna like die from that. If you're like a distance away from it and have like a vacuum or something.
Yeah.
Or like okay, here. Oh, do I say this?
You tell me, brother.
F it. Okay, this is purely for educational purpose. So, like me, for instance. So we've talked about this a lot in the past in previous episodes and things of that nature. Just kind of like going out places and like talking to people. Mm-hmm. I have noticed a lot too at work, and this is really funny because like I've talked to Tyler about this, and I always find this like hilarious. Is if like okay, say for instance I'm at work and I see like a really pretty woman, and I'm like, normally I wouldn't go talk to them or say like, how's your day going, or do you need help with anything or something like that. I've joked with Tyler about it because you're going up to them in like our work uniform, and our work uniform looks like horrible, and it's like the most disgusting thing ever. So if like I were to go up to a girl and I was like, hey, like how you doing, are you good and everything, she'd be like, ew. It's just like look at my uniform and be like, this is stupid. But like more baseline, I mean in terms of like if I see somebody really pretty, or work's a poor example, but like if we're out somewhere and I'm like, hey, she's really cute, maybe I like go up and say something to her. I think more recently I've been more willing to be like, okay, you know what, maybe I'll go over and like say something. Now, if she's with her friends or something like that, and I might be like, I don't know about that.
See, you're bold because like I'm the opposite. Like, especially if I see like a cute girl. The best example is if we're at a football game. There are...
See, but that's what I'm saying though. So because it's very selective in like... And this goes along with fear too. Like if you're more inclined to go and talk to somebody if they're like in a group of their friends or if they're just like by themselves.
See, I know some people that are inclined to walk into a group of friends and talk to them because the only reason why is because it shows that they're confident in themselves. Yeah. So like it brings out like their confidence, and some girls like that.
Yeah.
I don't got that confidence. I'm gonna sit my ass in the back watching the game.
Well, that's like all the videos that we share with each other where it's like, yo, that girl with the black hair over there, I think I'm in love. And
you
it's like,
talk to her.
Bro, go talk to her. No.
Yeah.
Which is like my favorite video.
Yeah,
but,
and like it's weird because especially like with our society, we have this stigma of like men should be the one that should go up to a woman and talk to them first. And it's hard because like,
oh, you going that route. There was a question I was going to ask you, but maybe now I'll ask. I wasn't going to do it.
Well, it's like it's a stigma because like if you think about it, like society, it's not, sorry, let me say this. It's a social norm because I've been learning about this in my class. It's a social norm for men to go up to women and talk to them versus women going up to men, right? You don't see people usually break that social norm of women going up to men and talking to them. And if you do, cherish your girls, like cherish your men. Like those ones are the ones that A is bold and B, they take what they want, which like I respect, right? I respect it, right? I'm for real. I respect it. But like a social norm, like men is the one that goes up and buys the drinks and talk to them, and hopefully like maybe the girl will like them, right? But like especially with our society, that as we're getting older in our older generation, and especially us going through a pandemic, it is hard for us to socialize like that and have the balls, especially me, to go up to a woman and do that. Like especially having that feel, like we all fear as men, we fear the feeling of rejection. And especially like funny enough, like I think you've talked to this about me, like, you know, if you go up to a girl and talk to her like, hey, can I get your phone number, and she's like, oh, sorry, I have a boyfriend, right? That's fine, that's not bad. But like you feel like you've gone through the effort, and it's like, oh man, like that's like saddening.
I'm so glad you touched on this.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. Like it's different for depending on per person. Like I've actually done that before, funny enough, at like a bar before, and like it's not.
You have?
Mm-hmm. Funny enough, this is like when I was.
I didn't
young.
know this.
This is when I was younger, like freshman, sophomore year of college.
High school.
Sorry, college. No.
Come build Legos, girl.
No, in college, and I was just kind of like I wasn't like depressed about it, but I was like, oh man, that's tough. Like,
yeah,
okay, like I guess I can.
It's defeating.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
defeating.
Yeah,
and it's like better luck next time. But in my head, I was like, do I want to do this again? Like, it low-key kind of, it didn't hurt, but I was like, my ego was like a little bit dropped down, and like. I mean, it's not like I haven't done it since, but like I'm not really inclined to do it as much anymore because I'm just like 9 times out of 10, most girls at the bar probably have a boyfriend. And it's not a bad thing. Like, good for them.
So I was gonna go there actually, which I'm gonna try and kind of like tiptoe around what I'm saying, but I mean it like obviously it's very per case basis,
Yeah.
and this doesn't apply to everybody.
Yeah.
I feel like in a certain sense, and again, this is just kind of subjective. I feel like women might have a lot less to lose in approaching a guy and doing something like that as opposed to like a guy doing it. And that's why I'm kind of like tiptoeing around it, because for
Yeah.
a girl or a woman rather, it can also be like shattering to confidence.
Yeah, it
but I
is.
feel like a good majority of the time you might come across a guy that's like, because I mean, guys are dumb. So though, like even horribly, even if they have a girlfriend, they might be like, ooh, and like they're interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for that, obviously, because that's messed up, and that's stupid.
Well, it's
to see,
weird
but-
because especially in our like social norm society, right? There's a lot of things, and I'm gonna say this with a loose term because some people are gonna like, no, that's not true. We like live in a loose double standard like society. That's why I said loose, okay? Because it's very subjective and
I'm
depending.
gonna have to
on-
cut this out.
No, in this case, like it is a double standard, right? Like, I'm not expecting girls to come up, but when I say double standard in this case, like it is degrading for girls to go up and then to get rejected. The same way as men go up to women is like.
And again, I'm not saying it's not, but
Yeah.
like you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and like sometimes like some girls like might not care, some men might not care. It just depends on who you are. Personally, like if I went up to someone and like they said no, like if they say no, like I'm sorry, like if they make up if they say they have a boyfriend, that's understandable. But if they're like no, like I'm sorry, you're just not my type, that's fine, but that also is a little bit degrading. Not degrading, like my ego goes down a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
not hurt by them, like I don't hate them for that, like I get it, they have preferences, but like it is a little bit degrading. I can see the same way as like a woman if she went in that sense. So it's just like you're right, we have to tiptoe around that, but I think we talked about it pretty well.
This I don't have to tiptoe around, and I think, and then we can end the whole like guy girl thing, because I could go down a very poor road.
Yeah.
I think too that I just completely forgot what I was going to talk about.
Gosh.
Crap. Say something. Ad lib really quickly.
Well, you
while I
said
think
you
about it.
said we didn't have to tiptoe around this, so I'm guessing it's something related to.
This sucks.
Usually, I'm the one forgetting stuff, which is funny.
It's just because I have like so much that I'm thinking about that it's just like.
See, that's funny.
Oh, okay. I remembered it. Let me get this out. So, and I forgot about it again already. How is that even
I'm
possible?
gonna say it's funny because like I'm usually the one that forgets things, but that's just because my brain process is really slow. Like it's like the best way to think about it is that like your brain is like a machine gun and shoots like thoughts.
Oh,
multiple times.
100%, yeah.
My brain is like a 1800 cannon where you have to like slowly load the cannonball and the gunpowder,
Like the musket, where you
with
gotta,
the
like,
musket,
rip the powder.
yeah. Like that's how my brain is, and then it shoots one thought. I'm like, oh, and then like it's empty again until like another, like it loads another
Yeah.
one. Like my brain is really slow, so that's funny that you.
Okay, we're good now.
Are
I
you
have it.
sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had this conversation with Ali a lot.
Okay, sorry.
I've had this conversation with Ali a lot recently, and it comes from kind of a place of experience, but it's also just I've had conversations like this with other people too, and it just kind of made me think about it a little bit as it pertains to this episode. I think a lot of the time, and again, it's a per situation basis, and I hope I don't have to like say that, and you guys just know that, because like none of the stuff that we see on here, we're saying like, well, women are stupid and they deserve
Whoa.
like that's what I'm like.
Yeah.
We're not saying any of this stuff.
Most
but
of my friends are women, you know that.
I think that a good majority of the time, women are the ones that are sought, and the men are the one that are doing the seeking, which is kind of what you were talking about. Which
Yeah.
more often it's going to be the guy that's going to go up to the girl and say, "Hey, how are you? Can I get
Yeah,
your
that's
phone
just
number?"
kind of
Stuff
like a
that.
social norm that we live in, like unfortunately.
But the thing that kind of stems from that I have thought about a lot, which this is a path that's just pure, like you just don't need to think about this, because that could be like a real big confidence killer. And but these are true things that take place, and that's just kind of what we do, and I want to talk about that so people can kind of understand a little bit more. I have thought a lot, I don't say a lot, I've thought a decent amount recently about a woman might have like 5 guys that'll say something to her, and they might be complete pigs, and you might not take it as an example for what I'm about to say, but it's still just kind of, that's what took place, so that's what we have to go off of.
Mm-hmm.
A woman might get like 5 guys to come up to her and say like, hey, I thought you were really pretty, or I thought you were cute, or fine, or bad, or whatever horrendous way that they want to describe that.
Okay.
Can I get you a drink? Can I get your phone number? Blah, 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 blah. I can speak for myself. I'm sure that you can probably attest to a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really happen to us that much. And I think about that, and I think that that's kind of the confidence killer. Not just the act of like somebody actually going over and doing it, because that takes like huge balls, and that's a lot more built up and like premeditated than what I'm about to say. But I've thought all the time about at work, at school, at Kroger's Food Lion or whatever, that I'll like walk past somebody and say like, oh wow, she's really pretty, or like she's really cute. And I wonder if ever like somebody says that stuff about me, or like you wonder maybe if somebody ever says something like that about you. And that's what I'm saying. Like that is very like you really. Is that the Gatorade bottle? Something was like fizzing. I thought the
Gatorade bottle.
I thought this was like catching on fire,
exploding.
I've thought about that a lot actually recently, or a decent amount. That I wonder if anybody has like thought about that towards me. But the reason that I just kind of like waft that away and don't even think about that, there's literally no point in worrying about that, because that at that point you're worrying about something that you will never get the answer to unless somebody actually will like come up to you and say something.
See, it's interesting you say that, because like I mean, I guess it's different per person and per like whoever like we're talking about, or if they're talking about us, right? Because like I've had people come up and tell me things, but not like they don't tell me things specifically about like, I guess, quote unquote, my appearance. And when I mean like, I've never had someone come and be like, hey, you're like a really handsome like looking man. Like I've never had someone tell me that.
Yeah.
But I've had someone come up to me
this
like,
is whoever's son to come up and say that to Thomas now, by the way.
You don't have to.
You're a handsome guy.
No, but I've had times like people come and say, I really like your hair. Like they point out things about my appearance.
Yeah.
Rather than like saying my whole appearance, which is like fine. But like it's different, because like I know girls when they say like because I've had girls tell me this before. They're like, if you go up and tell someone like, hey, I really like your hair, either two meanings. Either A, they genuinely just like how your hair looks and they just thought they wanted to tell you, or B, they're flirting with you.
It's probably the latter most of the
I'm
time.
C. I don't notice that they're flirting with me. I said, thanks, have a great night.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, I don't like, it's very weird because like
Your hair's nice, Kay.
see, like it's very weird because like I've told that to people. Like I've told women like, hey, I like your hair, like I like your dress, how you look and stuff like that. And like people say the same thing back to like, I like your hair, I like the way you dress, like stuff like that. But I've never had like, and I will say times, especially when it's like people tell me those things without me saying something first, is usually, and I don't mean this because like this is not the only times it's been told, but it's usually whenever they're drunk, because then and like I feel like most people's like this. Whenever you're drunk, you feel like you have more guts and balls, and you feel more alive, that you can like just do more sporadic things. So I've had people come up to me like, hey, like you're really like, you seem like a really nice person. Can I talk to you and like see how you are? And blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, and this is when they're drunk, they just want to talk and stuff like that. I get it. Like people are drunk. I'm usually the same way. Like whenever I'm drunk, I'll go up to people and I'm like, hey, like you seem like you have a great time. Like I like your hair, I like your glasses, like you looking sly as hell, dog. Like stuff like that. And like it's just because, and I'm not saying like you should only do it with alcohol, but like people, whenever they drink alcohol, they feel more free, and they feel like they don't feel like they need to filter their things and their thoughts, because a lot of people say drunk words are people's sober thoughts. It could be in a good way or in a bad way, but in this case we're talking about in a good way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that kind of hits on my last few points that I had here on the notes. I'm trying to think if there was like a good way of segueing into that. I guess just to end that conversation, I don't get that, because like that stuff doesn't really happen to me, and I don't say that to like garner pity or anything like that. And I know that
you never had anyone say like, I like your shirt, or like I like your hair.
shirt is different, Because
But,
like
that-
I would say to anybody, like if I saw anybody wearing a Greta shirt, I'd be like, hey, like did you listen to Starcatcher or
Yeah.
something like that? That's completely different. But I'm talking, I guess, more in like an attractive sense.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like people say, like I like your shirt or I like your
Yeah.
hair. Like my hair is like, I guess, quote unquote, the only thing I got going for me. I guess.
Okay.
No, I don't. Sorry, I
wanna
didn't mean
say
it like
that,
that.
no.
But like, yeah, you've never had anyone like I don't. I've learned to like not take people complimenting about the things I'm wearing as like, all right, that's just the things I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Because they're a part of me. Like they wouldn't like would
Like you look good in that shirt
yes,
or something like
that's
that.
what I'm saying.
As opposed to like that shirt looks nice or
Yeah.
something. Like you look good in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I don't say that out of pity. I just say that in terms of like my P word. Like it's just interesting to
Yeah.
hear other people talk about that stuff and
Mhm.
like if it happens to them or doesn't happen to them.
Mhm.
So, but moving past that because that consumed an incredible amount of our time.
What are we at right now?
Almost 45 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's not terrible.
I thought you were like gonna say like yeah we were an hour and a half.
No, I didn't think that we were that far anyway.
Mhm.
The next kind of like little topic, and I think I've talked to you about this a little bit, but one of the classes that I'm taking is the sociology of aging, and I was
Oh,
hit
yeah.
with a like a discussion board question like the first like week or the week after class or whatever it
Uh-huh.
was. The question in essence pretty much just was asking how long do you want to live until?
Mhm.
And it's funny because I actually, like, no joke, I woke up like last week or something, and it was either I woke up or I was going to sleep. I can't remember. But I was just laying in bed, and I was like, our time here is, like, really fleeting. Like, we're only 22 years old, but, like, that it got me thinking about fear a lot more because it's just there's so much that, like, I haven't done yet that, like, all the things that we've already talked about, like, there's just you really look at it and say that we're 22, we got like probably a good 40 more years left in us or whatever,
That's
but
crazy.
at least I'd say. But like you never know. Like anything can happen and
Mhm.
all of that can go to mush, and you really don't know. And like I just kind of had an epiphany.
Yeah.
And it kind of ignited this conversation. But I had this discussion board talking about how long do you want to live until, and I answered this question, and a couple of my classmates answered this question kind of in a different way than what the question was proposed, because some people were like, I want to be to 85, or I want to live to see my grandkids be born, or whatever the case was. I answered that question saying, to me, it's less about reaching
A
a
number.
specified number, and it's more about leaving a legacy and like what I've done.
Mhm.
So like I could die in 2 months or something like that. Please don't let that happen. I could die in like 2 months, but maybe in the next 2 months I cure cystic fibrosis or something. I was thinking about that for some random reason. We grew up with a girl named Angelica. She had like a running team called Angelica's Angels. I don't know why that popped into my head.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about that the other day too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
The same thing with the Roman Empire. I was thinking about that too.
Word. But yeah, so like in the next 2 months by some Damn it, man. In the next 2 months or whatever, I just do something crazy. That's just like for the betterment of mankind, or just something that makes me like immensely famous, and then
Yeah.
I just died like shortly after.
Mhm.
But to me, you could look at that and be like, okay, he died at like a really young age, but he did something that's going to impact like generations. And I'm talking maybe a little bit like lesser on a scale, unless like this blows up and becomes like the
Yeah.
#1 podcast ever.
Mhm.
Guys, get to work. But like I said,
Get your shit- no,
I
sorry.
looked at it more as in like sure, it'll be nice to die at like 97 or something like
Yeah.
that. But at that point, hopefully, I'll have been married for a really long time. I'll have had like 3 kids, 3 kids, or whatever it was. They'll have had kids. Maybe they'll have had kids, depending on whatever. But yeah, I answered that question that way, and I feel a couple people answered it the same way. I'm curious what your take on that was?
So like I'm kind of similar, but I don't really want to. It's not more of a legacy, but more of an impact is what I want to do. Because like I'm done with bricks. Like I'm not gonna be able to leave like something behind that's gonna be used or done within generations. But I'd rather leave like a impact on the people that I've met. That like it's funny because like I saw this clip by Robin Williams recently. It's him being interviewed. I don't know what the interview was, but he's like in a red, like kind of like a red army suit, like from the French, and he's like being interviewed. And I think he was asked like a similar question. He was like, "How are you feeling?" He was like, I'm not feeling terribly great, but if I know that I can like make a smile, make an impact on someone's life, and if I died today, I think I'd be happy about that. And like that's kind of like the life I live. That the life that I live through. Like I live every single day of my life, hopefully trying to make people happy and trying to make their day better as much as possible as I can. And knowing that I tried and did something for them makes me feel like if I died today or tomorrow, I think I wouldn't be mad about it at all.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's more about the impact I leave for people. And like, regardless, I don't care like if I leave like 2 or 3 impacts on those people. As long as I know I left those impacts on those specific people, and they see me as like someone that not maybe look up to, but they know I was a part of their life. Like I'm so okay with that. So, and that's what I try to do every day. Hopefully I do that well. Excuse me. Hopefully I do that well.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny, that actually reminded me of something. You probably don't remember this story at all, but our 8th grade, Thomas and I went to a private Catholic school. Our 8th grade religion teacher, Miss Canning, she told us a story that her uncle, grandfather, one of the two, who had passed away around the time she taught us and was telling us the story. At his funeral, there was somebody that like nobody knew that was there, just some like random person. Mm-hmm. And they would like go up to him and be like, "What's your relation?" I think his name was like Matt or something. "What's your relation to Matt?" Mm-hmm. And they were like just some Walmart employee. Wow. And they were like, "What? What are you talking about?" And apparently, like every time, like he was a regular at Walmart. Every time he would go there, he was just like super nice to this person, and like they would always like have a little conversation with each other, just 2 complete strangers. So when they heard that he passed away, they came to the funeral, and everyone was like, "Who is this person?" But then like when they heard that story, they were like, "Oh my gosh, like Matt just impacted somebody's life that we never even knew about." And that kind of went along a little bit with what you were talking about.
Well, it's funny that you like brought that up because like it reminded me of this is going to be a little sad, but it reminded me of one of my friends' mom's passing recently, and I went to her funeral, and that was I will say one of the biggest like funerals I've ever seen in my life. Like there were so many people there,
yeah.
And like the thing is, it wasn't just like all adults or like grandparents or grandkids. It was just like a wide variety of like different people, and like this was like very like an untraditional funeral because there was a portion during the funeral where we were handing out mics.
Are you like, is this okay to talk about?
I think
I know you haven't like named the person.
Yeah, I haven't named the person, but I think it's okay to talk about because there was a portion during the funeral where like instead of like having like a eulogy and like talking about like life, and we celebrated her life, but like talking about the eulogy, we handed out mics to everyone just to like reminisce and talk about her and like her life, and like that portion lasted almost like 2.5 hours of like people talking about her, and it was a wide variety of like people that she taught from like when she was in high school, and there's some people that she taught when they were in high school like 6 years ago that was at her funeral, and like realizing like that's kind of like the person I want to be. Like I look up to her honestly. Like she honestly impacted me too from like the little times I've met her and like knew her, and like it's very like that's the life I want to live, like someone that can be impactful by just the little experiences you've had with them, because like it carries a long way, and I've seen it with my own eyes with people talking about her for literally 2 hours, people like her kids that she like taught in school for like a month, like they were there, literally everyone that she knew was there, and like that is super impactful because she left her mark on them and it made an impact, and like that is like the best thing I could ever like seen ever in my life.
Yeah.
So it was very heartfelt to me because I'm like, hopefully I can do the same thing for other people as well.
I mean, kind of like another point that I had on here, just kind of piggybacking off what you were saying. A lot of just kind of like little moments that you won't really consider to be a rite of passage, but might end up being one down the road. I think I've talked to you about this. I've definitely talked to some other people about it, but there's been a lot of things that have gone on in my life recently, especially Tennessee, but that came a lot with, I won't say like trauma, but like there was just
PTSD.
not a looking at it like retrospectively, like not a lot came out of that just because of like how I went into it and how I conducted myself on it. But there's been just like so many things about my life recently that will like come and go, and I just like completely forget about them, and I just can't remember like vivid details of events that took place.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of sad because I look at it and I'm always one that I try my best to live in the moment. Like when we went to go see Harbor in July, I recorded like 2 songs maybe.
I didn't record a single one.
Yeah, and I just kind of sat there, soaked it all in, and just enjoyed everything that was happening. But it, like you were saying, it's just kind of like those little moments. They all just kind of add up, and you might not think that they have like an impact on people, but later on down, I feel like you'll understand a lot more. It's kind of the birthday principle that I have. Like every year I hate celebrating myself and like just being the center of attention. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but you're worth celebrating, or like the one day out of the year that you can choose to be selfish and everything. I've just never been, and I know that you're kind of the same way. You've never been that big on that. But for me, a birthday is just more just seeing like what new people are there. Like for my past like 3 or 4 birthdays, there's been different people there like every single time. And I think that's dope because it's like, when you were a kid, you had just like kind of a set group of friends that would come pretty much every year. Maybe like 1 or 2 people here and there would like get added in. But like now that I'm older, like I appreciate that a lot more. Like I can have the same 5 people and then a 6th person will come along. And I'm like, hey, like Joe wasn't there last year. That's awesome that Joe's here now. And you just kind of see like all the cool people that you've met just kind of like growing up.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, like, it's weird because, like, my birthday, especially these past couple of years, is, I mean, I understand. Like, it's not like I don't like celebrating my birthday, but I understand. Like, I don't want it to be, like, my center of attention. Like, I get it. It's my birthday. People want to celebrate me. If y'all want to celebrate me, yeah, like, I'll celebrate with y'all. But, like, I won't go out of my way to be like, hey, guys, I'm going to throw a party on this weekend for my birthday. Like, I'm not going to do that. If someone's like, hey, let's throw a party for you, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I'll help y'all plan it if y'all really want me to, but I'm not gonna go out of my way. It's like, if can y'all make it? Can y'all make it? Like if you guys can make it, go for it. But like, yeah, like especially these past couple of years, my birthday's been celebrated a lot more than it's been in a while. But like when I was growing up, I was kind of the opposite. I actually didn't really celebrate my birthday that much with many people growing up. I think like I remember like around my 16th birthday, my mom asked me, "Did you want to throw like a party for my 16th birthday?"
I think I remember this story.
It was very minuscule story, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to Defy Gravity with like some of my friends, right? And she was like, okay. And then I asked like a few friends like if they were free some of the, like one of those weekends, and they're like, no, like I'm busy and stuff like that, and blah blah blah. And then my mom asked me again if I wanted to do it, and I was like, nah, it's okay. Like there's a lot of friends that's busy, so like I just ended up. Was that when you got your foal on the trampoline? Was that my 16th birthday?
I feel like that was...
I thought that was like my 18th.
I feel like that was like 17 or 18.
Yeah, I remember that. But I think like I ended up not doing anything for my birthday that year. And then just next year is just like me and you that went there for my birthday. Because I know like you asked me like what do you want for my birthday? And I was like, honestly, I just want you to go to Defy Gravity with me. And then I want you to learn a flip. Like that's cool. And like that's really all I could ask for. Like I'm not really... I say this a lot. I'm like a pretty simple man. I don't really ask for much. Yeah. And I don't really need much. Like how you celebrated your birthday this year, like I'm honestly so cool with that. Like if we got dinner and ate food, hung out, like I'm so cool with that too. But like if people want to throw a party, like I'm cool with I literally like don't care like what we do for my birthday. Like if we want to sit and watch a movie, I'm cool with that. I literally will do anything with y'all as long as I get to spend it with the people I care about. That's how I want to celebrate my birthday. Yeah. And it's interesting because like, how do we get on this topic again?
You put us here.
Well, you started it. You were talking about birthdays.
Yeah. We kind of need to loop back to fear a little bit,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I was gonna end it with something with fear, but
Well, I was gonna say like the biggest fear I have about my birthday was that like.
we were talking about like aging, growing up, stuff like that. You were talking about birthdays,
Oh.
kind of got like tangled in that a little
Especially
bit.
older. Like I know, especially now at the point that I'm at as we get older, because I'm turning 23 in like, what, like 5 months, 6 months.
Old ass.
Shut up. Shut the hell up.
I'm just kidding.
It's weird because like 23 is a weird age for me because like I don't feel 23. I don't think I act 23. I was literally watching Adventure Time before we started this. Like I'm anything but 22 or 23. Like it's weird because like, and I'm scared because like especially as we get older, right? And I already experience this now. Whenever I try to like hang out with friends and stuff like that, it's hard because like as we
Everyone's
get
busy
older,
and
we
everything.
actually have to like schedule to hang out with friends versus back in high school. Like, hey, what you doing? Nothing. You want to go hang out? All right, let's go. Like, it's easy. And like,
Yeah.
I get it. It happens as we get older, and we all have different schedules, right? But I can't imagine like as we get older when we have like corporate jobs or like shit like that. Because I even saw it today, like at the end of the practice that I was at, right? Our coach was sitting and talking to like all of the other coaches, and I guess I'm considered a coach. I'm more considered a student assistant, but I was just sitting there. They were talking about like scheduling to meet together to like make a schedule for cheer, right? They're like, yeah, I work Sunday, I work Tuesday, I work Monday. And I'm like, dude, like, is it that hard to like schedule things? It's like difficult and it's scary because I'm like, how often am I going to see my friends then? The people I care about. Like, that's going to be difficult. Like, I can still vibe by myself, but like, I care about my friends. I want to see them, make sure they're okay, and like hang out with them. If I have to schedule 4 months in advance to go hang out with them, I'll do it, but it's just going to be like difficult, honestly. But also, people say time apart is what makes relationships grow stronger. So, because I know that was applicable for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think we can wrap here. We've covered a lot of bases. This is going to circle back to fear a little bit more. But just kind of sharing from my experience, there was an interesting event that kind of took place in my life recently that just made me feel something that I haven't, I guess, say like felt in a while. Don't make it weird. My sister got married recently.
Oh shit! Yeah, congratulations.
So she's been married for like 3 years now.
Congratulations,
but her
Liv.
her
Sorry, Britt.
official wedding was last week.
It was like
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Her official wedding was 2 weeks ago. I officiated it, which was really cool.
Oh, so you were the one like you
may now kiss the bride, like that kind of guy.
Do you have pictures of that?
I'm still waiting. I meant to ask Britt about that because I think
I want to see that because like that's so cool.
Yeah, it was hot as balls outside. Like
Was it outside?
Yes.
It was an outside wedding.
Yeah, it was outside. It was like 90 degrees, bro. I'm in a suit or like a tuxedo or whatever.
Probably fine suit.
I step up. Let me tell you. Let me get those pictures. I'll share with everybody. But no, I like walked up the steps and I was just like sitting there waiting, and I was like, my God, it's hot. But no. So when I was at the wedding, it was funny. I had a little bit of wine in me, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Kind of goes back to what you were talking about. Just kind of like when people are drunk, they might act a little bit differently. But this is a little bit different. For the first time in a while, I had felt like we were all dancing. We all ate, and just the DJ came out. He started playing a bunch of like throwback songs.
DJ
and
dropped
everything
that beat.
We all went out on the dance floor. Allie was with me. She was my date to the wedding. And we got on the dance floor. We all started dancing. And there was this moment where I just felt untouchable. Like, again, maybe that was the wine, but I was just there. I was dancing. I was having a good time. I heard whispers of people. They're like, who's that? Oh, it's like, oh, that's the bride's like brother or something like that. Like, oh, he like I could hear people like talking about me, but like I just didn't care. Like I was just enjoying myself. I was going crazy. Allie could tell you that booty was shaking on the dance floor, bro. I was getting stupid.
You were throwing
with
it back, bro.
To songs that it didn't even like. it was not
Country home.
like it could have been like evacuate the dance floor, and I was just like tossing
Dude.
it back, bro. It was crazy.
Oh, I missed that, bro. I wish I could have saw that.
But yeah, like I just felt like nothing could bring me down, like
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like a fire could burst out in that
Yeah.
room, and I would just not even care, and I
Mhm.
would just power
Send me
right
to
on through it.
sleep.
I would save a bunch of people, obviously, but yeah, it was just so funny to me because of all the doubt that I've gone through, all the stress, all the things that I've needed to persist through, the lack of me being open to a bunch of people. That was just like 5 Easter eggs for people that listen to our
Damn.
episodes.
I don't even know it.
Those were. I'll let everybody figure that out. But yeah, it was a moment of just pure euphoria, where I felt on top of the world,
Yeah.
and nothing can touch me,
Yeah.
and just literally all my fears were just gone. And I really needed it because it was just a break from work and from class and everything. It was just going home, being surrounded by a bunch of family, doing nothing but having fun with each other, meeting a bunch of like really cool people, because Carson, my brother-in-law, all of his family pretty much, I didn't know
Yeah.
any of them, and I met all of them for the first time.
That's awesome.
One girl that I met, her name's Danielle.
Oh, cool.
Carson's cousin sang like their what?
Nothing.
Sang.
I just got to pee.
Sang their song for like their first dance.
Oh, that's awesome.
And her and Nia, our other friend, are the only people that I know that have like written songs. So I was talking to her about it. I was like, "What you do is awesome. Like I love
Yeah.
this." But yeah, it was just so cool to feel that. Like I just haven't felt that. I don't want to say ever, but it's just been like a
In a while.
really long time.
Yeah. It's probably refreshing too.
Yeah.
Because you feel like, all right, I'm not like stuck in a box. Like
Yeah.
I can still feel like this, and it's like a good reality check in this case.
Yeah.
Like you feel better about yourself.
I think just kind of the moral of everything that we talked about, and Thomas is shaking so much. I just go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I just have to pee. That's it.
I think the moral in all of this is kind of going off of what I was saying earlier, is that it's not worth worrying about all this stuff, because in the end it's not going to mean anything. Like I can promise you we'll probably, because your 20s are not the time to think about stuff like this. My mom tells me that all the time. She
Same
sent
thing as
me
like when you were young in high school. Because like,
well, especially now, like a lot of people say that your 20s, if you're worrying about like what your place is in life, please stop, because it's just, you're coming out of college, you're trying to figure out what your career is. It's just not the time to think about that
remember
stuff.
in like high school is the same thing when people were like, what should I wear on the first day of school? Like I want to make a good first impression. No one's gonna remember what you wore on the first
Yeah.
day of school at like high school, like freshman year. Like I don't remember what I wore.
I-
It really doesn't matter.
It's so minute in the grand scale of just everything that's going to happen to you. But yeah, just kind of in the conversation that we've just had about fear, I think just kind of the message to draw from it, and again, to college students that probably don't really know a lot about what they're talking
Jack
about,
shit.
but we try
Even though
and
this is my major, but
but we try our best to send a positive message. Just be yourself. It's so not worth it to try and be anything other than what you already are. And if people love you for it, then you're doing a great job. And if they don't, then that's their fault.
if you're unapologetically yourself, you can't be sorry for who you were.
Yeah, and I think fear too goes a lot hand in hand with regret. I just don't want to regret anything, and me putting myself out of my own shell, I think, is a great way of not looking back and saying that I regret a lot of what I did or what I didn't
the next
do.
episode, regret.
That's a good Billy Strings
Future?
song. Love and regret.
Nah, it's probably gonna be like protein.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning into our our fear episode
Shit.
this week,
How much protein have you had today, actually?
and we will see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.